Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Fed Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading, and today is February 13th, 2025, and today is Thursday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, crude oil slides to supportish level at $70 a barrel. But first, looking at today's major economic events, 3:30 South African time from the United States, we have a Producers Price Index. That's a PPI inflation report on the producer side. Super important. Now, looking at the market, starting out with the Forex symbols, the British pound and the euro both advance versus the dollar. Looking at the indices, the Dow Jones sells off and trends lower, while the NASDAQ remaining unchanged. Now, looking at commodities, crude oil did slide to its supporters level, but natural gas took the other direction and extended its gains to the upper side. Now, looking at stocks, Tesla finally getting a bounce. The question is whether or not it's a dead cat bounce. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin retracing at resistance-ish level. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. First with the Euro USD. Now we did get a bounce. We're going to look at a weekly chart first. And if you see, there was a double bottom there at 102-ish level. However, that's not so significant as much as we'd like to see if this bounce is real or is it really just a fake out. Okay, so here's the thing. The Euro did get a bounce. The GBP got a bigger bounce, which means the GBP is stronger versus the dollar than the euro is versus the dollar. So keep that in mind. Now, if we swing out, okay, at a 4-hour chart, you can see that we extended those gains. That's an ABC move, 1, 2, 3, and we're at that top of that move. Now, I would have expected it for us to be a little bit higher at this 105 resistance-ish level on the daily, but we're not. Okay, so this is super important to note. Now, when we do look at the GBP, it did extend its gains a little bit further, all right? It's at that top of that range, and therefore it's stronger. However, let's take a look at it. Let's see if it doesn't sustain this, and it does retrace here. It does have a hammer formation right now, so keep that in mind. Now, jumping into the Japanese yen, we did a whoop-de-doo here, okay, which really means we did a fade. We sold off, and then we had a massive V formation here at this 154. That's a decent bounce for the Japanese yen. That means the dollar is getting stronger versus the Japanese yen, as it looked like the Japanese yen did gain a little bit, but that has been erased as it's recovered. Now, looking at commodities, looking at crude oil, it did slide down back to $70 a barrel. Okay, you can see that a little bit clearer. It is bouncing right now to $71, but it was on supportish level, and this is where potentially it could bounce off of, as it's starting to do that right now at $71 a barrel. Now, looking at natural gas, the opposite direction, went northward and crossed over a 30-day moving average, which was significant on a daily. If we're looking at a weekly, we're still in a range, so it's not so relevant. But on a daily view, yes, we can close in at this 430-ish level, which is a super important level. Now, looking at the indices, the Dow Jones sold off over 200 points the other day. Okay, you can see that quite clearly. It is consolidating at this upper range, so keep that in mind, whereas the NASDAQ really didn't do much yesterday, but now in pre-hour marketing, it is selling off. Now, looking at the stocks, it's very individual. All right, so let's take a look at Tesla because that was the first one that we mentioned. Now, Tesla's been sliding, okay? And I'm going to look at first a 4-hour chart, as you can see here, and then we'll zoom out a little bit. But it did slide quite significantly from its highs of 487 last month, okay, to 386 right now, which was over a $150 retracement for it. All right, now it is testing its 200-day moving average, as you can see here. The question is what it's going to happen next. Okay, that is the major question. And it did bounce, but is it a fake bounce? Is it a short covering? That's the question we're all asking ourselves right now, and we'll know it once we see how the trade will unfold today. Now, looking at the rest of the market, like I said, it's stock specific. Facebook, it's still on its highs. Okay, if we look at Netflix, still on its highs, okay, and pretty strong at it as well, as it's on 1026, excuse me, but still very, very strong. Now, lastly, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin, as everybody knows, is a range-bound trade most of the time, but every so often it breaks out on it and has these severe moves. But now it's really consolidating a very, very tight range, 97 to 95-ish level. And that's where we are right now. The question is whether or not we'll retrace a little bit further to 94. That's the next level that we can retrace to. So lots of things happening in the markets. Let's see what happens with this PPI, because yesterday the CPI really made a tumbleweed into the market, send us selling off, and then, kind of making it back in the afternoon. So today, PPI number coming out 3:30 South African time.